Walaikum Assalam. Thank you, Bushra. And you have a great future, bright future. We need younger generation to take the lead and be pragmatic and vibrant leader of our community, which is needed most. Now I ask Mr. Salim Akhtar if you have a few minutes, and I want the Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch just for a couple of minutes because we are running short of time.
Well, it's my fate. When my turn comes, the time is always short. So I will be fast and quick. I will do my best. I am Muhammad Salim Akhtar. I am the National Director for American Muslim Task Force on Civil Rights and Elections, which is an umbrella of number of Islamic and Muslim organizations. And in the past 50 years of my activism, since my 10-year-old, at the age of 10, what I have learned is number one, if you stand up for yourself, you will find number of people will be standing up for you. They are ready to fight for you, fight for your rights. With these words, I really appreciate and welcome Ms. Teesta Setalwad. I hope I have pronounced correctly, okay? Because my language and accent has screwed up, being traveling from 14,000 miles and in between so many other places and countries. I was in communication with my hero and the person, honestly, I feel like that's somebody who I can look up to, the kind of sacrifices he has made, lifelong sacrifices. And for that reason, we have recognized many times, AMT has recognized Brother Sher Mohammad Rajput. Brother Sher Mohammad Rajput introduced me to Dr. Qutbuddin about a year and a half ago. And I said to Dr. Qutbuddin the same thing. I said, if AFME stand up for the rights of the Indian minorities or all the citizens, we will be the first one to stand up with you. And with these words, I have, it's so inspiring. Couple quotes I have in my mind, and you already mentioned Dr. Martin Luther's quote, and I'm going to mention it to you, two quotes. One is from our President Jefferson Thomas. He says, I'm going to paraphrase, I tremble for my country to know that God is just, and his justice cannot speak forever. And on the other side, another quote I will present to you is from Imam Thamia. He said, any civilization that does not stand on justice, even there is a Muslim, that civilization will perish. And any civilization that stands on the justice, even if it is not Muslim, okay, they will sustain. And Ms. Setalwad, I have invited to introduce you and invited some of the prominent civil rights and human rights organization leadership and the party's leadership. Because what I learned in my struggle is that when you stand up for yourself, the next thing you have to do is to build the coalitions. And believe me, when you start building the coalition, you will find so many friends and so many support from different corners of the world. I just want to please some of my friends, who represent many different groups, please just stand up and be acknowledged. Okay, I will. And these are the people who have learned about you, Ms. Setalwad, and they were very gracious to be part of it, to show their support, that they will build the coalition with you and work with you, and they anytime just let them know what kind of help we can provide. Okay.
In India, Salim?
Of course. It's a worldwide coalition. Okay. These are the people. So now some of the people I have invited them, and I said, come on, meet them and build the, have the interaction. I'm going to name just a couple of them. A few of them, and just stand up and be recognized. My dear friend, Mr. Jack McInerney, he is the party leader from the Republican Party. At one time, he was the lieutenant governor's candidate, and then Dr. Tariq Beg, he is the world-class economist. Dr. Tariq Beg, right here. Okay, please have your seat. And Mr. Mr. Mumtaz Khan, anytime there is injustice going on, you will see in outside the embassies, outside the consulates, and in the downtown area, even if he has to stand up single-handedly, he will stand up for the rights of any human being, regardless of race, color, religion, or creed, And I will, and the next one, I will ask my brother, Sayyid Azhar, who represent with the Islamic Circle of North America, their neighbor net, Mr. Sayyid Azhar. He's a prominent figure. He is also a banker. And then Dr. Muhammad Ashraf Tur. He is the past president of the American Muslim Islamic Medical Association. He's and the past president of Pakistani American Congress, and he is the current chairman of Pakistan American Democratic Forum, who stand for. We have issues all over, every part of the world, including in Pakistan, about the issues of a democracy and the human rights. And then I will ask Mr. Amr Chaudhry, who is the General Secretary of American Muslim Alliance Midwest region, and he is very gracious to come over here and join hand, And then I will request Dr. Wasiullah Khan Saab, who is the Chancellor of East West University, dear friend, and he is with Pakistani American Congress as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
And then I think somebody already mentioned Brother Abdul Malik Mujahid. He was here, right? Yes, yeah. And then, and not the least, okay. I will ask Mr. Hamza Latif, Ms. Setalwad.
Go ahead. Just go ahead. We will come.
No, just okay. Amnesty International, their head office, has made a special request to show their representation and show the concern where your work you are doing is, and they have sent Mr. Hamza Latif, okay, who is the local organizer for Amnesty International. And I will request Mr. Hamza Latif to come in and say for a couple minutes quickly. And all these people are here to show you the support and to build the coalition whenever and wherever it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to keep my comments short, as Setalwad and the professor did a superb job of going into a lot of the nuts and bolts and the details and the meat of the human rights violations that were discussed in detail. Just a show of hands around the room. How many people are familiar with Amnesty International? Thank you. I'm glad. Amnesty International's creed is very simple. There's 30 rights that are given to all citizens that were signed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, December 1948. That document was signed by all the nations that were present. 58 countries signed it. Amnesty serves as a watchdog to make sure all of those rights are afforded to the citizens of those countries. Now, a third of Amnesty's resources are spent in the research. Nowadays, with fake news and data that's plaguing Facebook and other news sources, we only use our own data. So a third of our resources are spent collecting the information. It's vetted and passed around. So the UN, the data that they use comes through Amnesty International. Now, if you guys are interested in reading the 2017-2018 international report that just came out, just come find me and I can get you a copy. But before I get into some of the more subcontinent-specific details, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the refugee crisis that Amnesty is working on right now. Currently, we have the largest fraction of the world's population living in a refugee status. That's 22.5 million refugees.
Just focus 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of these refugees half of these refugees are being housed in about 10 countries. So there's a lot of work to be done there. A lot of Amnesty's work in India with our country specialists have brought data showing that there's been an all-time increase in human rights violations against minorities in India. 40,000 crimes against the Dalits, including physical attacks, restricted access to hospitals, schools, etc. Two Dalit men were killed, and dozens of homes were burnt down in Sahanapur and Uttar Pradesh. And again, the overwhelming majority of these these civil rights that are being violated against minorities. I know it was mentioned already, 10 Muslim men were lynched and many injured by the cow protection groups and the people that were doing these violations were members of the BJP party. And even though these arrests were made, there was no charges pressed, and ultimately those were dropped too. So in the midst of what I can only describe as the worst human rights crisis that's going on, it's even more important for like-minded organizations like you guys here, CGP, Amnesty International, CARE, ISNA, and AMFI, to continue aligning our work and know that there's 7.7 million Amnesty members that are aware of these violations, that are taking action, that are putting out reports, signing petitions, and putting pressure on local government officials as well as federal officials to make changes. So I thank you for coming out, and thank you guys for giving me time to talk today.
Thank you, Hamza. We would love to hear more from you, but I think we will have more opportunities. Now, just one last question was Mr. Rashid Salam. That question, Mr. Rashid Salam, is for Teesta ji.
Thank you so much. I just need to say that one of the things that has happened in the last 4 years is that, 4,000 licenses of non-governmental organizations have been cancelled. So they cannot accept foreign contributions. Okay, and our tour organizations are one of those. The 4,000 organizations whose licenses are cancelled have included minority organizations who are working on human rights, Dalit organizations. So as of now, unfortunately, otherwise I would have said, from the bottom of my heart that we need resources. Please give whatever you can. But I can't do that now because we've been legally barred by the government from accepting any money that comes from overseas. But I still feel that with this vibrant community here, there are people back home, you can tell. There are enough people back home in India, if you tell them any amount that they can give, from 1,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 to 25,000, every bit will go towards making our Peace Map initiative work, to making our organization work on the ground, to building our legal networks. And we hope at some point the license will also get revoked. But at this point we have that constraint, so I have to say that. But I think if you can tell people back home to help us, that would be huge. Thank you. It's there on the flyer?
Yeah, we'll give
it's there on the flyer.
Teesta ji, you said in Vancouver that we can reach out to the agencies, parliamentarian and justice people. Can you just say it? Because I think that was very relevant.
I said it here also.
Okay, yeah.
But I can say it. I can say it again.
Okay.
That I feel it's that for us back home, the fact that like we had the inspector here and we have served from the Republican Party, it's very important that representatives of the local political parties are informed about what happens back home, because there's not, as you know, in India there's not much foreign coverage, in US there's not too much foreign coverage, so people are not aware of what's happening with our communities back home. So I think informed, credible information needs to be given to our representatives here in the US, in Canada, and to international and national organizations. And believe me, even national campaigns help. Letters written by communities to the National Human Rights Commission in India, to the Chief Justice, to the President, to the Prime Minister, however cynical they sound, they do make an impact. So please continue to do that. Please don't think that it's not important. It's important to do that. And please think of helping us by getting contributions to us from Indians. They can be Indians living abroad who have Indian passports, but basically we can't take it from any foreign passport holder.
There is an entity called FCRA in India.
Yeah.
The foreign funds, the way they come. In fact, I was there during the demonetization time in India. They almost at blank, they cancelled many institutions, organizations who had FCRA, and I have one of them in India, and I was very much dreading that would also be taken away. So there are many are gone. So they are very policing the whole thing. What I really wanted to ask Teesta, how was she able to get a visa to travel abroad under the most difficult conditions? And the last day she probably got the permission from Supreme Court. Can you elaborate?
Basically, I've got about 12 false cases. Can I ask him to just...
Okay, I will ask.
12 false cases against me. So I had to take permission from the courts. The courts gave me the permission to travel. But at the very last minute, the government filed, and they tried to prevent me and went up to the Supreme Court to say that I should not be allowed to go. This, the day before I left, the Supreme Court said I could travel. So it's a hellish job. It was not easy at all, but I believe that one has to keep pushing and trying. Yeah?
No.
I've been attacked physically 5 times, sir, which is why I got protection. Yeah.
Thank you. Now we have a lot of questions now. I think we are closing that one, but only one thing is here now. Thank you, last but not the least, to Northwest Suburban College, Mr. Ali Niazi. Just a minute. Mr. Ali Niazi and Dr. Khalid Sahab, Sami Khalid Sahab. We are very आभारी हैं. नियाजी साहब कहाँ भाई? हम आपके नियाजमंद हैं और आपके आभारी हैं. Thank you, and everybody who has come. I thank you. I'm very grateful. I'm very obligated to say that I'm very thrilled your presence here. And now just one thing before I make dua is that Ms. Rafat's sister wants to make an appeal for rally on Asifa. It's a very vibrant, very painful situation. We have to attend the rally. Now, sister, just go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Qutbuddin. And thank you very much to Ms. Teesta for very inspiring words of wisdom. So I'm going to ask everybody, are you all fired up?
Yes.
Are you all fired up?
Yes.
I always remember Mr. President Obama's all fired up. It's so inspiring. But before I introduce, few things that I have to say about the rally, I begin with the famous quote of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is a very famous quote. He said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." So we may look like we're doing some controversial things, but that is the real challenge, and we should take a stand. So with that said, it's very humbling to say that I'm under the organization of Justice for All. I am organizing a rally, and there are 2 of the brothers, they're not here. So we are a very small team. I called on 16th of April, and when I keep hearing these news about this tragedy, I couldn't even bear, I couldn't even sleep with that much pain. So we said the least we could do, as the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, he said, when you see something evil, stop it with your hand. And when you cannot stop it with your hand, speak up. And when you cannot speak up, pray in your heart. But that is your weakness of your faith. So I request you all to attend the rally for this girl who is delivering justice from a grave. So many people will get justice. Not just her family, but all those forgotten people who have been raped, murdered, God knows what else.
Around the date.
So the date is Thursday, this week, May 3rd at the Federal Plaza. Please come. Drop everything you're doing. Be there. The more voices you raise, the harder it'll be for those criminal vultures, evil beasts to do those things. So India needs to know that people from Chicago are raising their voices, as in New York and Houston and all those places.
What time is it?
It is at noon, 12 p.m. We kept it on a weekday because the Indian consulate's office is open. So please be there at 12 noon. It will go until maybe 4 p.m. But because the offices there's a lunchtime, a lot of people will be out in the streets. There are buses provided at the, at Bolingbrook Masjid. So please, you can take buses, and those of you who work in Chicago, you can come to the rally. Thank you very much.
I think the Asifa's rally, really you need to praise the Indian pluralism. It is not a religious issue. A Muslim It is actually a humanitarian issue, and this was raised by all in India in all cities. The person who investigated, the police chief, is a Hindu. The lady, the lawyer who is representing her, is a Hindu, and majority of the people who were supporting her and brought this to the attention of the nation are Hindus. So the reason I wanted to take the message away that this is not a Muslim issue. This is in general a humanitarian issue, and everybody has taken a notice. In fact, Muslims were sleeping on this issue until they were awakened much later. So we should know that, because invariably we go away and comfort ourselves that we are in the forefront and we are doing something. But honestly, ours is a very much of a sleeping community. The reason I become self-critical is because we really don't do justice, try to blame others all the time. So after having said that, I really want to thank Brother Khutbuddin, although it becomes nepotism because he's my brother-in-law, for re-energizing the AFME in Chicago, and he's a committed person from this area. AFME needs all kinds of support. He has formulated a regional local chapter here of AFME to perpetuate, because it used to come up at a convention time, it used to disappear later on. So he wants to keep this alive 24/7 and round the year and more years to come, and develop a cooperation with the rest of the Indian Muslim organizations, which is still a drop in the ocean. So then this place, Northwestern Suburban College, because I wear that hat too, I always use this facility for AFME functions in the past. This is not the first time. And Dr. Linyazi has been very gracious to allow this thing to happen. We met here many more times. This college needs all your prayers, all your efforts in every possible way you can give, and where they are monetary or even supportive, emotional support is also needed. We have been going through some rough times, but inshallah we'll succeed. And Dr. Linyazi, being an optimist, he thinks this is just a hiccup. So hope this is a hiccup and goes away. But institution is still alive, and we are really foreseeing big future. And with those few words, I would like to thank one and every one of you. Hang around, have good time, socialize, interchange your ideas and plans and your phone numbers and emails, so that we can get together and meet more often in future as well on common topics. Thank you so much.